Good evening to the viewers, to the chatters. Hello, welcome back to Centrals. Welcome back to ETF2L Season 52 of the top division. Prem is still dead. We're still looking for who did it. We're still looking, finding it maybe somewhere, clues as to what happened to Prem. But for now, we're in top. And today, we're looking at the match between the Gremlins and the Compound. An interesting little derby here, perhaps, for these teams who have had a rough start to the season, both of them, but perhaps it's a nice opportunity for either of them to claim some points. Before I get ahead of myself, though, hi, I'm Cerny, joined by J-Max on production and Steven on the mic. How you doing, man?
I am doing very well. Looking forward to this game. Yeah, as you just briefly mentioned here, could be a bit of a scrappy one. Both these teams unable to pick up a map thus far during this season. So going to be wanting to look for some points here. I will say I think the Russians had some pretty tough matches to start with, kind of our top 2 or 3 teams. They played 2 of those teams thus far. And honestly, they've looked somewhat competitive, looked very good last week on the start of product, but kind of struggled to finish things out, and then managed to get a couple rounds on that second map of Granary as well. So doesn't look like this Russian team going to be complete slackers of the Gremlins. But then on the other hand, you have the Compound, who I think just been struggling a lot during this. But they get to play some pretty comfortable maps. At least for the first map, they get to play a comfortable map of Process.
Let's address the elephant in the room. So some maps that people like to play are, they're established, they're well-known, they're good stuff that everybody likes, like Process. And then some other maps are utter nonsense that is made up by the utterly deranged called Govan that I've never seen before in my entire life. Okay, I'm being a bit too harsh on it. I'm sure it's an okay map in Highlander. We've never played it in Sixes. It's completely unproven. The gamers chose to play it tonight, so we'll be seeing some King of the Hill Govan as the second map. And I'm curious. Maybe that's the X factor that, I don't even know who picked it. Maybe either team is okay with it. They were looking for it. It's something interesting, I suppose. It's certainly new. I'm very curious how that's gonna go. It's gonna be an alright mess.
Yeah, so I looked through the Sixes logs of this map. There was one page, and not a single player on either of these teams had shown up on that search. Luckily, we did see the Russians had a pre-game scrim, so they've at least tried to play this map. But this is going to be such an unknown for both teams. It could really kind of show the potential of the meta of this map, of how these teams want to play. So if you're in a lower div, and you're potentially being forced to play this map this week, next week, whenever it may be, you might want to watch out, because this may be the best strats that you're going to get all season. At least the best players on these maps that I think we're likely to see, because usually this would just be an insta ban for most teams, right? Yeah. I would love to be in like that chat where they're talking about, like, they're playing chicken about who's going to ban Govan, so the other team can get their preferred map. But I guess both teams they got a little too close to the car, and now they're forced to play Govan.
Maybe there were just some even worse choices for each team in the pool that they didn't really didn't want to play, so they had to stick it out with Govan. I mean, this might be the first and last time we ever see it at the top of ETF2L, so we should, relish in it, enjoy it. For now, we're getting ahead of ourselves, because it is Process first. It is going to be established stuff. It's going to be stuff that's known. Strategies are actually going to matter. DM is going to be probably what decides Govan, considering nobody's going to have strats for that. But quick prediction here, Steven. What do you think? What's the storyline going to look like at the end of Process?
I've got to go with the Russians here. They've looked pretty solid thus far. I think this is actually a quite strong roster for them. And I mean, Mon just did absolute work last week, but we won't have much time for predictions, as we are rolling out here. Is going to be the Compound on red and the Gremlins on the blue side. Because of what concerning.
Let's see, early quick roll out here for Sano, but he does get cut off by Sneaky as his counterpart, so it's going to be a slow mid here for both of these teams, taking it the usual, the careful way, a bit of peeking and prodding. Kua with a nice little bomb across, decides to pivot to the demo, while the counterpart goes for the medic, and they do get Feasty at the very least as a cleanup frag. Sneaky gets taken down eventually as well, but the frags are just falling on the Russian side. Faust just maybe even going for the Uber Saw. Does have to worry about Mun still as well, and DQZ still alive means that they still have to, at least be aware of bombs that could be coming their way, but he's not going to do much. He's just going to run out, and it's a 1 mid for the Compound, and it's pretty decisive considering Faust lives, but at least the Gremlins are going to have time to set up a last hold, and maybe an Utka sniper can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely can. You've got to be careful of this. Looks like they want to peek out too, actually. on the side of Gremlins. So are doing at least some sort of setup. Want to mount at least a small defense here. Do have Mon all the way up in the background, getting that sentry gun out. So it's not going to be a real defense, right? It's just going to be a little bit of a poke and a prod and see if you can find something for your sniper. But going to be playing it cautious here, playing foul super far back. Soldier bombs come in here for the side of the compound, and they are successfully onto this second point, wanting to make their way directly into lobby, want to get themselves on last as fast as possible. As Mad Mac already on no sun. Uber is popped out. Sentry gun is dealt with here. Storm looks like he wants to play the point here. It's thwarted back for a second, but this good bomb to this left-hand side. A lot of space comes out, but so does the Uber from Mad Mac here, taking out Pajaka late there as well. Should keep them in for now. It was just Peter DC far in the background hoping to get a pincer, but he was known about, and now it looks like it is going to be the compound backing up, allowing the Gremlins their way into second here.
Beautiful hold there by the Russian side. They did it perfectly, really. They stalled the sentry for long enough, got good positioning out of it, and you love to see it. Gets them that second back now, an opportunity to come back forward. And while they're still at disat, you know, about 30%, that's not that big of a disat at all. The compound are going to have to move very fast if they want to make use of it. They're going IT right away. Maybe this is the opportunity to, you know, catch them off guard, but you have to catch them really far forward. And the Gremlins kind of aware of this as well. Pretty passive in their positioning, knowing that this could be coming their way, and everybody's out of dodge already. They're not dealing with this in any more way than they have to. So that's a, well, zoning Uber at best. It does get them the second back, and it puts the Gremlins back on last, who are now, you know, not going to push out, so I suppose it's just a big reset, but it buys a lot of time. Gremlins are going to have time to set up here again. Big Uber in store obviously means that Compound is just kind of forced to wait. And if Gremlins are really feeling aggressive and keen, which they are, they're actually going out to second here. Very interesting. You don't see teams doing this very often. A nice frag onto Peter early. Might open things up, but here's the back cap attempt. Feasty's already slipped in behind. He's got a scout chasing him down, but will he able to get to the point and block him? Will just about. That was scary for a minute. Now second's going to be capped off again instead.
Yeah, it's nice to see them kind of going for these plays, trying to make something happen, right? Like, you're not, you know, a round down. Like, you can make a mistake here if you really have to on the Russian side. But they don't make a mistake. They do a good job of dealing with Feasty in the back. He didn't need to cap up that point, but players were ready to go back. However, Jacka is in the background here, is finally spotted, but could be a good time for a pincer maneuver, as both teams do have Uber. It's not a bad opportunity to trade if you go for it. Even better now that the demo man of Sano is taken down as well here. Pajaka doing work in the background, putting a lot of pressure onto these soldiers. Doesn't pick up a kill, actually finally doesn't DQZ. Yeah, I think that's a really nice pincer. No one could deal with him in time, and there's just enough pressure from the front to basically give it for free for the compound. Still a demo man down, only just spawning now. I think if you go fast on the compound side, you have a good opportunity to try to get it, and they see the same advantage that I have as they try to make their way in. Sneaky going in deep through this top IT area. They will try to bully players out. Mad Mac was just stood on a sticky that would have killed him. Sneaky did not see that. Peter bombs in and is taken down, as is Pajaka. So that is the flank dying. That should be the rest of the compound and backing up into their mid here. Looks like the Russians might want to actually just come straight through sewers. No one's spotting them out here, and they have got a lot of space here, but is it enough players to really stay in this fight? Do they have staying power? Looks like they do. They're giving a lot of respect on the compound.
Still no Ubers. I'm pretty sure both these players have been sitting on their Ubers for the past 2 minutes. Finally, Faust, just due to the damage taken, forced to push, well, to put his Uber into use here, and unfortunately all it results in is Storm dying as he's caught outside of the beam, and a lot of aggression coming through by the Gremlins now to try and chase these remaining players out. They still have not felt the pressure to use whatsoever. Mad Max staying safe, the team keeping him safe, but also everybody just staying alive, so he's not forced to keep anybody alive with the Uber either. So another opportunity. Abrua bombing in already, just going for a little bit of a distraction, seeing if he can maybe, you know, scout out a little bit, get some attention on him, and force these compound players back ever so slightly further. They're just leaving second. They have nothing to really respond to this Uber with. They have no positioning, no forces being able to get out. Just gotta get to last, try and hold this, and ideally avoid the coast to coast. Because if you remember, a few minutes ago they were on the other team's last. Now they have to hold off this last push coming in, as the Uber is already taking down the sentry, takes down Peter as well, which does take a soldier off the equation. Captain being put down. Demo's still trying to spam the stickies on there, but it is a tough one. Pajaka on the heavy as well, making a lot of work of people that bombed him, but unfortunately not making work of people on the point, and there's the first round for the Gremlins.
Yeah, get that nice pick onto Peter DC, means you can't really pressure from the high ground with that soldier, and then It's, they did have the heavy, and he was putting in some damage, but there were just so many people surrounding the point, and with a soldier down, there's so much less spam that can be put onto that point and can just lose a lot of that pressure that you would have done, and eventually just kind of get overwhelmed by the side of the Gremlins. But good job from them to hold on to that Uber for so long on Mad Mac. It won't be him straight away on this mid as a DQZ goes in for that early bomb onto the side of the compound. Decide to go for that fast left-hand side rotate to the compound and send in those early bombs. Not able to get anything thus far. Yeah, after Mad Mac finds him, but now they need to be careful and make sure that these players can actually follow up on it. What can these scouts do? They lost Faust in the meantime as well, so not going to be too many players alive, and actually looks like it is going to be Russian side coming out on top. It's just Pajaka trying to play with his food, but will finally go down. Luckily, a silver lining in this is that the medics both died. Thus Ubers should be about even, but already putting in a little bit of pressure onto second of the Russians.
I mean, you can't blame them. They did win mid. They have the opportunity to grab a little bit of ground here and feel a little bit of forward pressure. So let's see how they approach this second push. They have a slight ad and they're building a little bit faster. At least they were. I mean, I guess they caught up a little bit. I think Faust was, ahead for a little bit, but either way, it's looking like a classic old little second stalemate here between the Grems and the compound. And obviously the compound aren't gonna be too happy about that. It was not the fastest first round. We've got about 8 minutes off the clock by now, and they have to try and find a response, find a round back, and the Gremlins very happy with just slowing the pace down and immediately putting Utka on the sniper as well, so maybe something unexpected here. Holding the SMG like a cookery, that's an interesting one. I'd love to see that sometimes, but let's see how this sniper angle out of sewer works, right? They're probably not expecting it just yet, and that could have been a nasty shot already. Doesn't quite line it up though, but maybe. In dangerous game there, Faust, but you do get out of harm's way just about in time. And they're just really trying to open up these doors now. Immediately the compound, though, you see how much aggressive they got in their positioning, right? Really trying to shut down that sniper, putting everybody else that could be a problem into, well, could die to the sniper out of harm's way. Kajaka died into this sticky trap obviously doesn't make it any easier, and now it's starting to get interesting. If Utka can get an angle here, the soldiers can't deny him well enough. This could be nasty, could be very dangerous. Peter, in the meantime, just slips on through, manages to get the force out of Mac. Alright, yeah, sure, let's just let him walk through choke.
Yeah, that's the strange force that ends up coming out there onto Faust, especially. Just the sniper went super deep, no traps at spawn. And actually, I was going to say, it's looking a little rough here for the compound, but they managed to get 2 picks in the meantime, do lose their demo man, so that is a lot of your damage gone during this, but these scouts should be able to clean up. They managed to get a first as well, they managed to get Sano as well. Now it's just Mad Mac trying to find his way out, but he's not long for this world, as they do a really nice job of cleaning up. Kind of kited that Uber out pretty well on the side of the compound. Had a lot more players playing around Faust compared to the Russian side. Felt like Mad Mac was left pretty alone. And then they chased so deep for Sneaky after he got those 2 kills that they were cleaned up pretty handily. This is really nice now for the side of the compound. And not going to have that medic onto second at all. Just need to be wary of this forward spawn sniper on Utka. However, Feasty already bombing deep should spot him out, and definitely has, as the rest of his team trail their way in. 90% on the Uber. Looking like a really nice place to just try to make their way into lobby here. Get everyone healthy. You have so much time before they get Uber that you can kind of just take it slow. You can take it steady. Do pop in through this 4 door. Gonna be taking down that sentry gun. Now, look like they wanted to play a little time on Cap here, trying to force these soldiers to bomb in, and that's exactly what happens, but not able to clean anyone up. Soldier bombs come in, Feasty doing absolute work, along with Peter. They absolutely crunch on these Gremlins players and bring it up to 1-1.
Gremlins just kind of scared, still staying in that spawn door area, not really trying to reclaim much ground, and eventually they just become those sitting ducks for those soldiers up top, and yeah, once that collapse comes through, nobody's there to protect that point. Here you go, they equalize it 1-0. This is indeed a bit of a derby we've got upon our hands. Maybe it really is coming home, as Peter is saying. Has England actually played a game in the World Cup yet? They haven't, right?
Yes, we 4-2 yesterday to Croatia. Thank you very much.
All right, fair enough. Maybe it is coming home this time around. We'll see, I suppose. Anyway, that aside, next mid fight as it unfolds once more. Slow, nobody going for an early crazy bomb or anything like that. Peter getting launched into Skybox, but living for the time being. Mad Mac eating a lot of damage early though means Eventually, this positioning for that medic is going to be compromised, and somebody might just follow up. Peter eventually gets cleaned up, as does Sneaky, as does Feasty, so they are certainly shutting down this aggression onto the medic, perhaps using the low HP as bait to get players to be way too aggressive, way too out of position, and nice cleanup here by DQZ onto the scouts as well. It's only Faust left, and, well, he might escape to spawn. He certainly isn't healing or building whatsoever, so this is still a big add for the side of the Gremlins to work with. If they move fast enough, they can definitely get into last year and do something with it, but Compound is going to get soon. They are certainly coming up on that Uber. Crucial for them is, though, that they won't have time to set up for much of a last hold. They just don't have the time. There's no sentry. There's Uber coming already in as well. Sticky's not really on the point just yet. A Heavy trying to maybe salvage them, but he's not in position to do much. If the Captain being put down now as well. As the Uber is faded, though, and it comes up for the side of the compound, they are able to chase out these Russians for now. It's going to be on this refight, how they try to approach it. Are the Gremlins going to feel themselves re-pushing this dry? Or are they going to wait it out? Get for another Uber ad push, or just an equal exchange or something of the sort? Maybe just a sack play that works out. I guess we'll see. With Storm now sitting firmly planted on that point. I don't think there's going to be much of a push happening for a while.
No, you're not going to push out if you're the compound here. I will say they did a pretty good job of getting those soldiers in position straight afterwards to lock out those doors and make sure that the Gremlins couldn't get a repush in. So a nice opportunity from them found. The Bluehead tries to go in, is taken down instantly from Feasty, as is DQC as well. Do lose that sentry gun on Pajaka instantly. Send Feasty in as well, looking for that sack attempt. I feel like maybe you could have bullied your way out. You lose that sentry gun, maybe you just got on the scout instantly and just tried to bully through onto the second. Could have been a nice opportunity for them, those soldiers, to possibly get behind. But they want to play the slow game. They want to play the 5-minute round timer. We've got Storm checking for those off classes, and they should see Pluha up on this spy here. So either is going to be going for the sentry gun or going for the backstab straight onto that medic potentially, but yeah, he should be a known factor either way.
They don't have a pyro just yet. Okay, there's Storm on the pyro. I was gonna say, I feel like that's gonna be coming out any second now to try and find a hidden local invisible man somewhere, but for the time being they certainly have to worry about actually spotting him. He's still hiding, he's still just biding his time, seeing if he can find the perfect movement, the golden path to find exactly the target he's aiming for here. But the longer it goes on and the more Storm checks for him, the more spots he can rule out, and eventually things are going to start going bad. There's the decloak, maybe going for the sap, doesn't even work out all that well. DQC can still bomb the point on 2 rockets onto Faust, almost getting the third with Splash. Balls of steel on that man for not popping as well, you gotta respect it, but it will unfortunately just result in an unsuccessful sack attempt with 2 players not getting the medic down just yet, and just another reset here as the force meantime comes out on the other side. It worked out for once. Peter manages to slip in, gets it out of Madmac, and now Compound might feel themselves an opportunity to push out potentially. Depends on how much they're feeling themselves here for sure.
Yeah, with that pick onto Utker as well, that Sneaky just managed to find there, probably gives them a really good incentive to come in as they are finding a way to top lobby. Will be Sneaky taken down by the spam, by the Demo Man and Soldier of Pluha there. So, you know, what was looking like a really good opportunity, they just have to go straight back, right? Like, there's just no point that you are going to be able to get in without a Demo Man there. You just do not have enough damage, as it is the Gremlins straight on the offensive here, straight into lobby, trying to spam onto Faust, trying to get that force as Madmac already onto 70% on his Uber, so they want to see if they can find an advantageous push here. And it was, yeah, a nice little attempt to try to poke and prod while that Demo Man didn't have traps on the doors, but gonna be looking like we're back to evens now. So we'll see what they decide to do on the Gremlins. Do they decide to go for an all-out push here? They do get Utker again. Sneaky is doing a really good job of just finding players with these sticky traps.
Both these soldiers slipping
Once
in
again.
immediately. Peter already getting through. Denied much in the end, but you know, it's a little bit of pressure. Forces these Gremlins players back, and there was opportunity there. I saw Feasty also going for rollout, but he opted to abort in the last second, I suppose. Didn't really get through the door in time. Still, that could have been dangerous. Still, though, look at the timer. They just bled away so much time. They didn't even try to push up because they know at this rate they're just gonna go for the round reset, and it favors them more. And it's down to the Gremlins to, well, do something. The ball's in their court. Utka on a sniper again, seeing if he can maybe get an angle to last year. Unfortunately, just immediately bombed by the soldier. Not gonna be able to do much there, and that's just bleeding off more time. At this rate, all they really have left to do, or all the options they have left, is just push in with an Uber, see what happens. Maybe somehow the Uber can make an exchange actually go in your favor here, but you really have to try and make it stick, and well, waiting for Utka to respawn obviously doesn't make it any easier. Going with the heavy for the offensive push here, that is a curious one. You certainly don't see it often, but I can see this working if they play their cards out, if they time this right. Sneaky early is also very good, but you lose Sano immediately, so it's actually just equalized. Now this has to stick. They have to get the sentry down immediately, and they're not really finding the spam just yet, as the Ubers get exchanged on either side as well. Utka not in a great position, just sitting in lobby, shooting invulnerable players while he's invulnerable himself, and then he gets headshot as a cleanup as well. Just a little cherry on top. Even with a lot of frags coming out of DQZ, it is not enough to get them into this last point. It is a hold out of the compound and a round reset.
That's just not how you play the heavy there. You can't have the heavy coming out at the same time as the Uber, because they're going to obviously just focus the heavy coming out the door, because you can't kill the Uber player, so you have to flash onto the heavy, and yeah, overall the heavy just does not get the value that he's meant to. And you want him to come out late, you want him to be, you know, 350 health and to just be an absolute sponge who can just dish out damage in that chaotic post-fight, but they just didn't play it, I think, the way they really wanted to on the Russians there, and have allowed that round reset to happen. And we'll see they change anything up here on the compound, see if they can win another mid out. It was the fast aggression coming out from the Gremlins. DQZ once again just bombing those top crates, and it looks like we're going to play a pretty even game just across the point, just exchanging a little bit of spam here. See who'll come out on top. Beastie is the first one to go down. A little spam coming out from Sano and Pluha, the bombing soldier, and it is the compound just leaving here. Not able to really get anything, no significant damage enough coming out here, and it is the Russian straight away onto second through Al-Qaeda. It's a bomb in for Pluha onto Faust. Faust with a nice surf out, but he's going to be on such bad HP that he can't really regroup with his players. Everyone has backed out so much. Piece of DC going down as well here, so one less soldier. That's so much less spam that can come out here. They really want to stay in on the compound, but they're not making it easy. They're constantly putting on pressure from the Gremlins here, but actually they might have thwarted this push attempt just for the second on the side of the Gremlins, but not for long, as Uber does come out. Faust just about gets in time here. We'll trade it on to Sneaky here, so Uber's going to be out of the way. What can they find in the post? They can find Utka straight away, and now it becomes messy. Now the bomb comes in from DQZ, takes down one scout, can't find the second here. Health low on both these compound scouts, but they stay alive with some arrows, and it's Beastie going down to a nice rocket from Pluha as well during all of this. And now it's just this war for attrition here, and you have to think two scouts on the high ground is just going to be so hard to defeat.
It's a tough battle to go up against, and Pluha knows that even though he's been hitting some nice shots, it's a tall order to also bomb into. So it's just the reset for now. Neither medic dying means both Ubers still very much in play, sooner rather than later. Equal situation all around, and well, the Gremlins turn, sorry, the compound turning, but was a pretty terrible mid-fight overall. Even if they didn't lose extremely, it was kind of lost by the time that Sneaky got cut off from positioning and just couldn't project much power. It was a slow death. They're holding nicely on second in the meantime. Nice hold fast. Feasty, an attempt here into a sewer. Unfortunately, just gets immediately cut off from the rest of his team. Utka cleaning up that kill now means that this opens things up a little bit again for the Gremlins. Unfortunately for them, Utka just dies on the low ground, but they trade out frags left and right, and crucially Sneaky is down, and the Uber is forced out of Faust as well. No pressure onto Mad Mac whatsoever. The Gremlins having to just beautifully split the attention here, managing to keep their own medic safe, managing to get the players and the Uber out of the way, and that gets them the second point, and a nice opportunity as well to convert this round, get it into last. Another 5 minutes perhaps that we're going to be waiting here. Who knows? Ideally for them not, and it's a nice opportunity, a much better opportunity than they've had for the last, well, attempts that they had, where they were just sitting here trying to get through an equal hold, with essentially just now being built and a heavy up in the panic room on the high ground. Maybe this Uber can make a difference here. Nice little deep bomb in by Sano. The sentry gets taken down immediately. Now they just got to cut off the players from the point. They do not really do much. They find Mon at the very least. Stickies are cleared as well. A little bit of damage here out of Sano, actually, to help out as well. Nice pressure there onto Faust. Gets the frag, so the medic is out of the equation. So even though this was a terrible push and they wiped, at least they got the consolation prize of taking out a medic, which means the momentum for the compound isn't going to be that great.
Yeah, just welcome on instantly to Stickies from Sneaky once again. I feel like this man has done an incredible amount with his sticky traps thus far during this game. But yeah, they just kind of crumble. Don't really get anything with their Uber whatsoever. Send those soldiers in over that left-hand side, have managed to find Faust, but In return, there was just a soldier and a demo man chasing down Mad Mac and took him down. Allows the compound to get second, but means they can't go much further, but they want to try to as they push straight in through choke here. Sano taken down to a sliver of HP, but will live for now, and it's going to be Mon finding Beastie in that forward spawn as it now allows the Russian side to push forward. They want to keep in the driver's seat here. They want to see what Mon can do. We saw him last week hitting the headshots, and he's doing that again now as it sends the rest of the compound fleeing for their life after seeing that headshot. They're back on their last straight away, 90% on the Uber for Faust, so should be able to get it, but it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be strange here. They need to be careful of Mon, but Feasty, really great timing, great positioning, managed to take him down. DQZ nearly goes down as well here, so it was looking good for the side of the Gremlins, but so much pressure constantly being put out here by the compound. They've managed to find 3 out of nowhere. Got to be careful of DQZ in through 1. Could be the playmaker here as he does bomb into the back. What's he want to go for? Is it a medic? Is it a scout? Is it the point? Looks like he's not going to find much for now. Is going to be taken down by the Jacker. But really nice from those aggressive soldiers.
Yeah, they turn the tides a lot there. If Mon gets an angle into last there, anything could have happened. There's a lot of ways that could have turned very well for the Gremlins, but crucially him getting taken down early, just really catching the Gremlins off guard with that aggression in lobby as well, cleaning up everything else. Now forcing the Uber out of them as well. Obviously, it's more of an exchange in the end, but with Mad Mac being so low, positioning potentially a bit compromised. Gremlins can't chase that deeply as they maybe would have wanted. And Compound being able to just make this another reset onto their own second, where they've been oh so comfortable for this round so far. Just kind of waiting it out and seeing what happens. So what was starting off decently fast, you know, teams trading rounds, is now slowed down a little bit in terms of pace. DQZ, nice little bomb in, nice rocket there onto Faust, gets the second one as well. The cleanup is there for Pluha with a nice stray rocket to clean that medic frag up, and that is so crucial to give the Gremlins another round attempt here, because now there's a good chance to get a last push going once more. A bit of time for the compound to set up. They got a sentry being built already, Sticky's on the point, all the usual stuff, but this Uber is inevitable. It will come up sooner rather than later, and unless the sniper maybe that they wanted to for a second consider on last isn't going to find anything, they're just going to go with the Pichaka Heavy instead. And this is the Uber for the days. They didn't get it last time, the Gremlins, but maybe this time around they'll have better positioning, they'll have it adjusted better focused. Once more, Sano in with the bomb, immediately Sentry denies him ground. This time around it lives for a little bit longer than they're comfortable with, but at least it allows him to rotate a little bit faster to the other side as well. Struck down spawners, seeing what he can do. Sticky's still on the point though, means that they have to worry about that before they put down some cap time. And with no frags falling in their favor just yet, and Faust slowly but surely coming up in his own Uber, if this fight goes on for long enough, Compound might just be looking on top. Finding Plua as well isn't going to make it any easier. Nice little rockets down to DQZ though. Does manage to clean up Faust once more. So again, even though it's a disastrous push, once more, the saving grace, the final, very final silver lining is at the very least they get Faust again. At the very least, there's a very low chance the Compound are going to be able to do much more to get second here.
I feel like Faust should have been fine there. I think that solo bomber DQZ shouldn't have done as much as it did. He got cleaned up so fast after Faust did die in the end. I think you could have turned around and potentially saved him there. Compound not able to even get that midpoint there, ever so close to capping it, but not worth losing your life for this. Might be worth it if Beastie goes in and can hit some nice rockets. Unfortunately, not able to, so maybe want to look if he could make an advantage for the compound here, but just going to be settling up onto second here. Ubers are even on both sides. It's Peter DC finding DQZ on the flank. Might give them an opportunity as him and Pajaka want to push things forward, but it is going to be the Gremlins trying to push through IT, but yeah, they think better of it. They are a little worried about getting flanked, and I think that is a good worry to have as Peter once again coming in through IT, wanting to go for that hero play, that off-timing sack, but Mon is set up and ready for him this time. So gonna be kind of slowing down for a second, evening out. Mon's got behind. They're Ubering in through top IT here. Bowser does use it, has to flash a little bit, so Uber should be about even on time. Sneaky wants to go in deep, see if he can find anything, and he finds Mad Mac. That's really nice, but now they have to survive for the rest of this fight. DQZ in, as you were saying. The rest of the Gremlins also trying to find their way in, but the damage is really not there. Only able to pick up Sneaky. It's now on to Urka. Can he find anything? Can he find a miracle here? He's living for a long time, but not able to find anyone in the end. And once again, it is the compound winning things out. Sneaky, I feel like, has had a really good life this life. Killed 4 people on last, manages to jump in and get the medic of Mad Mac there, keeping his team in this round, giving them 30% Uber advantage to play with. And, even if they don't manage to use this advantage, it should scare the Russians off enough to send them back to last, right? I don't think they're going to put up a real fight here on second.
Hey, the saving grace is that at the very, very least... Okay, for one, Mad Mac has Uber coming up, and for two, Utka just hits the shot onto Faust, so honestly, it doesn't friggin' matter at this point. They just have to make sure that Mad Mac doesn't die, that they, don't lose too many players here trying to hold off these very, very frantic compound players trying to find anything as soon as their saving grace got ripped out beneath their feet. They do trade up a couple of players, mind you, right? They do pick up DQZ, Pluha, and Utka, so they're going to be able to slow them down ever so slightly. But it's not enough. They're going to get that mid. They're probably going to be able to get into second fairly comfortably as well on the side of the Gremlins. They might have to use, depending on how it goes, I suppose. And Feasty obviously trying to do the exact same thing that just happened to them. Sniping himself out of that rollout area. Maybe, perhaps, that is all it takes to turn the tides once more. We're going endlessly back and forth. The tug of war. It's just a heartbreak after heartbreak, potentially. It's just going to be a shot onto a scout, unfortunately. He's going to have to settle for that, but Sniper's still in play, and now that is going to compromise the Gremlins' positioning. That's going to force them to play around it, and nice little shot onto Sano as well. You ain't going nowhere except the respawn queue, buddy. You're not escaping with the rest of your team, and there you go. Compound are going to turn the tides of war once more, just with that alone.
Great fade shot coming out from Feasty there, not usually known as a sniper player, but hitting some really, really nice shots. And to keep them in this round, we'll be saying up onto this sniper, Mon going to be counter-sniping as well. So it could be a really good battle for this one. Uber's even for both teams, opening that shutter door, trying to find something onto the sniper, not able to with that first shot. And no, it's a scary one, right? When both teams have a sniper, you're just trying to find that potential angle, find that pick. Feasty takes a shot onto Mad Mac, gets a headshot onto Mon, gets the follow-up shot. So now you don't have to worry about the sniper. Now you can start playing into this sewers area, and you have a lot more control. But they can still put out a lot of spam on this Gremlins team, and you can quite easily lose a player. But it's Peter DC coming in, finds Sano once again, finds the force onto Mad Mac. These soldiers feel like they're doing absolutely everything. It is going to be Utka coming in the background. Finds a nice pick, and Sneaky going forward alone here. Doesn't get anything but Storm finding those players that he needs to, finding those bombing soldiers. And now, with just 4 minutes remaining, no, 1 minute remaining on this clock, it's an Uber advantage towards the compound. Will they rush it? Will they go in now while there's not a setup already? Going to wait for these soldiers to come in. Looks like they're going to wait for a second. Think better of going in fast. Can they win this by a tiny margin here? 1 minute exactly now on the clock. Uber comes out through for the compound. It's a fast bomb in from DQZ. Somehow not taken out during all this time. Finally goes down, but wasted this entire Uber.
Too.
Yeah, Feasty is so low, can't really do anything, but it's living for this long. They're cleaning up kills on the compound, and they're going to win this one out 2-1 after a real slugfest.
What a war of attrition to come out on top of, off the back of just crucial plays from individual pop-offs from so many players as well. Like Feasty just hitting insane snipes all of a sudden, whipping those out of nowhere. Sneaky just constantly putting down so much damage for the team to follow up on. Just a well-oiled machine. Beautiful focus as well coming out of the compound, and a well-deserved, well-played slow play into well, what is a map, right? That's ultimately what they wanted. They managed to claw themselves back around, have a grueling time trying to get the second one, but that's all it takes. Eventually, you get the second one. You don't even have to go to a golden cap. And now we're going into King of the Hill, which means you've absolutely secured yourself at least half the points tonight.
You absolutely do. Yeah, really nice stuff from the compound. I think maybe underrating them a little bit during this. I think we were kind of thinking that the Russians should take this away, somewhat handedly, but they really could not get a last push going at all on the side of the Gremlins. Was looking good. That first push they did was looking very solid, taking down Peter DC early, taking a lot of control on the right-hand side. But after that, they just really were not able to do the same things. It felt like a lot of aggression was coming out from the compound, from their soldiers, just able to go in, get a good, strong rocket, and then jump back out. Or manage to get a pick or two with that. And then Sneaky was coming up with some miracle pipes and stickies as well, just thwarting those pushes out early. I think they really needed to try to get a little more heaven control on those last pushes and just never were really able to. And then, when the opportunity arose for the compound, when they managed to get those picks, get those couple headshots from Feasty, they just made the most out of it. And they just had a really solid final push. And yeah, I mean, deserved overall.
Sometimes it doesn't matter how much control, how much possession of the map you have, how much time you spend on the enemy side versus your side. If the one time you do manage to get there, it's just a clean little push. Yeah, I mean, the logs are on screen. You can see a story unfold of basically exactly reflecting what I saw throughout the match. Mon very much so trying to put the team on his shoulders, putting in a lot of work, doing a lot of work, but ultimately it is only one player, while the compound overall just doing more damage, killing more, Sneaky putting out. Honestly, this guy's not a demo player. We need to remember, right? For the most time that I can remember, this guy has been exclusively a scout player. So the fact that he's picked up the demo for this season, even if it's obviously like a bit of a mixed team and it's not like the top of the top of the top of the league, still putting down a good performance here, especially against a team that you consider are pretty evenly matched, or maybe even better overall with the amount of experience that the players on the team have, right? Don't forget that this Gremlins players, I mean, they haven't played in a while, but a lot of these people have played in Prem eons ago, so it is quite something. And obviously, the rest of the team also just well-oiled. Feasty putting down a pretty good performance as well, considering he's on the soldier class, which on process, not that common, at least, I think.
Yeah, if you look at the damage as well, you can see Peter DC is well up there. He did a lot of damage. I think these soldiers were just bombing in at really good timings. You can see a lot of the time that you'll just get super punished for that if you do it off timing. We definitely did see one or two times where they would go for a weird off timing when they did have an advantage and it just not work out, right? And that happens sometimes. But it never felt like they did it in any moments where it's super, super detrimental. And I feel like a lot of the time, Peter's bombs were just into a doorway where there was one or two players, and he just cleans up a player who's just unaware that this is going to happen. And yeah, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot more of these aggressive soldier players coming up this season and actually working out really well. Maybe that's just caliber of competition, right? Some rustier players that you're playing against, you can get away with this. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the era of the super aggressive soldier, and I love to see that. I love to see soldier just bombing in as much as humanly possible.
Maybe we don't have many scouts left anymore to know how to deal with it and shut them down well enough, or perhaps we have reached a point now. It's the year 20XX of TF2. Every soldier can now hit perfect directs every opportunity, and suddenly scout players have to fear once more, and that's what makes the difference, right? That's an interesting one, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of that map was also won off the back of strategy, right? Like, in terms of strategy, positioning, game sense, the Gremlins kind of they were a bit more scattered. They didn't have great focus, especially on the last pushes, right? They really struggled finding focus, finding targets. They got the positioning down, but then they kind of did nothing with it. And that's it's kind of a tough one, especially on a map as established as process. But everybody might have the weak point. Who knows? Maybe they were so busy pre-scrimming Govan, which is our second map now, that they just forgot about the basics. They were like, we got process on lock anyway, right? That said, Govan, different story entirely. Nobody knows how to play this map. If you told me, if any of these players are going to say, we know how to play this map, they're lying. I do not believe them. They would be lying to me. Nobody knows what they're doing here. They've probably just about seen this map once with the pregame scrim. I don't think the compound has done anything. So, DM. Right? All that's going to matter is DM. We're going to see a slugfest of just a DM server. They're just going to be fighting. One scout is going to get 40 frags somehow. And that's what's going to decide who wins. Surely.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of flank opportunities here, though, and there's some good high ground as well for the soldiers. So you can kind of go over to arches and try to play behind the team, and then you can kind of play in that church top area by the pipe as well, to just not really allow the other team to come back in. So there's a lot of strongholds and there's a lot of pinch points that you can really play on for what we've seen thus far. So we'll have to see how teams decide to play around that, because I think you'll have to put quite a lot of resources into your soldiers, taking the high ground and taking the flank. Otherwise, I think you're really going to struggle here. I mean, we did have a little look in the pre-game scrim, and it looked like both teams were just kind of playing around the point as much as possible and trying to set up a mini forward hold. Doesn't look like it's quite as oppressive as like a bagel forward hold, for example, where sometimes you can't get out of it as much as you try, right? Like you could do those fancy fast bombs through with the soldier, but still they just clean you up, right, with the scouts. And I don't think it's going to be quite that oppressive, but I think you need to be really cautious of the flank routes on this map, because I think the soldiers could do quite a lot if you're not careful, and I guess the flank scout as well.
Yeah, and I mean, for one, I mean, we talked about in the pregame as well. This map is quite large, quite spacious for a KOF map. I mean, this yard area you're seeing right now is in the pregame as people are fighting there. It's very wide. There's a lot of space. It feels like it's twice the size of product, right? So while for one, that means rotating is a lot harder to do quickly, it also means that you're going to be unattended, unwatched for a long time. People aren't going to have vision on you for a while, so that lends more credence to flanks potentially working out quite well, because the doorways you have to watch, the areas that people could be coming from, are quite far spread apart, and it's hard to keep a handle on all of them all at once, right? So, as you say, flanking probably going to be a big part of this, just players getting around, finding themselves in the enemy backlines very quickly. I suppose we'll see, because the gamers are keen. They're ready to go. It is late in Russia. I don't blame them. You know, they are a bit ahead of us on time. They probably want to go to bed soon, so let's see how this first little mid fight on the point is already going to go for them. How they're going to do stuff on this KOF, how they approach it, and I guess we'll see just what the strategies are that these gremlins with their pregame scrim made have cooked up here. There's a flank happening already. Mon and his soldier buddy coming on their outside, but unfortunately for them, Sano has been taken down, and that means that there's a lot of pressure missing here, but it doesn't matter if they can still clean up players either side. Well, at least he got sneaky, but it doesn't amount to much, does it? The rest of the team wiping, and the flank, the wraparound, the collapse out of the compound, working out wonderfully.
Yeah, they sent Jacka all the way through archers, as you know, I kind of predicted he might have, and then got up onto that high ground on the pipe and did a good job of cleaning up the soldier who was playing up there. And then, yeah, they were just no real damage after those players on the flank in archers of the Gremlins, were just not able to really do anything. This time, Gremlins want to once again take this flank control with Mon and DQZ, and has a bit more successfully managed to get over onto this point, as they are kind of playing on this a little bit of the high ground by the stairs here. And I just want to try to edge cap, but it's quite a slow capping point here. I feel like I'm so used to Bagel, where it feels like it caps in a millisecond, like you blink and the point is capped. I'm not used to how slow, you know, this point caps. It gives you a bit more opportunity to play back and forth, and you can play a little further back. You don't just have to stay on the point the whole time here, and it doesn't look like they have much of an idea of what to do as Uber comes through here. It's a deep committal from the compound, only able to find Uka during this, will lose Feasty, but managed to get the Uber out, and actually no one really able to chase. Monin on the background though, can he find the final shots to get onto Faust? DQZ is there to follow up here, and it's just two left on the side of the compound. Will get those stragglers in the background down, and now it is Storm trying to get in, trying to find a miracle kick. Goes in, but not able to find anything. The final man in. Can't find that second rocket, unfortunately, on to Mad Max. So it will be the point going the way of the Russians for the first time in this game.
Okay, there's off the back as well of a nice little bit of aggression out of DQZ, cleaning up nicely, making a little bit of space for the team, and it's enough to get the Russians that point. But now they've lost Sano, so hanging on to it is going to be harder and harder. Sneaky certainly trying to, you know, find some ground forward here. Yeah, DQZ cleaned up as well. All right, nice little shot there, and it enables this re-aggression out of the compound. Crucially as well on this point though, standing on top of the little nipple there doesn't actually count as cap area. You don't actually cap when standing on top of that, which unlike Bagel means that you have to choose between good ground or actually, you know, getting the objective done. So adds a little bit of a wrinkle here to the positioning of the players and what they do and how they approach stuff. Now with the Ubers back in equal positions and seeing what the Gremlins can do to re-aggress across the point with a little bit of rockets, a little bit of spam, seeing what they can find. A little bit of damage being dealt, actually. Matter of fact, Faust eating a rocket means that position's going to be compromised for a little bit as Peter manages to bomb across. Get the force out of Mad Mac as well, with Pijaka following that up. So that is crucial, because now the compound have a big Uber ad to work with. And that's going to be a nasty one, I think. Even if the point flips, as soon as they've got players ready, and as soon as Faust is ready to make the call, comfortable with taking his team, his boys in again, That's going to be another point retaken very, very quickly, probably.
Yeah, they need to be careful they don't lose Sano here. He's kind of been that pawn who's gone down early in these Uber exchanges thus far. He was looking very aggressive early on. Looks like the compound taking it a little slower. Maybe wants to try to take it for free. Bully out to the side of the Gremlins here, but actually it's Storm the first to go down. Peter DC was in on the back trying to get something, but the rest of his team not really pushing as aggressive as he would like. DQZ is now in onto these players. Faust does have to use for this as well, but it's just Sneaky dying, so the hesitation to use the Uber has cost them dearly now. As they've had to use this Uber, they've had to lose so many players, and it's allowed a big Uber advantage now for the side of the Gremlins, and it's allowed them some good positioning forward on this point, trying to play around that church area as well, and always pressing DQZ through the arches, but it is just a big bomb in. It's Sneaky finding Mad Max, and that's really, really nice from Sneaky to come in, find that pick onto Medic, find the drop, and now, gonna be finally making their way back up to the Uber. But during all of this, the time has evened up on the clock, and the Russians now will be having a slight advantage on that time.
Lovely bit of holding them from here from them. The Gremlins doing a nice job getting that timer back down, making sure that this they keep in control for quite a while. Trading out Peter again once more for Utka as well. Blue on the other side, but crucially they get the force out. The exact thing that was done to them now. They get a sack wave in. They manage to get that Uber out of Faust, even though they will sacrifice quite a lot of players for it. It also compromises the compound's positioning enough that this well, forward hold they were probably trying to go for here, or attempting to maybe set up. It's not going to happen. They're going to have to just reset themselves, go back to the point, and hold on to it for, well, 30 more seconds, which isn't a lot, mind you. It is not a lot of time. It is going to be enough time for the Gremlins to get another Uber of their own. And the Ubers are disconnected enough that this could matter. This is a decent ad that they could work with. Ideally, obviously, they wouldn't want to use, and ideally, they would just want to get the point for free. But with both DKZ and Mun going down quite early here, and flanks already all around as well, positioning compromised, and cap time still not quite finished, they have to just use here to get across something. Sano eating a lot of damage before even trading with Sneaky, as the Uber just about fades on him. They have to get that point early. Utka boarding immediately as well, trying to get that point cap, but there's just not enough players around to stand on that point in time. Getting blocked all the time as well with so slow of a point. Truly, I think both of these players, all these players, wishing right now they were on Bagel. They could just get that point flipped eventually. They do it now. They do get their timer ticking down some more. But this is just such an uphill battle. With the Uber already coming out for the compound as well, and all the ground being taken. Utka cleaned up just to make it even harder for them to re-aggress. And now, how are the Gremlins going to block this? They have to get on that point stat. They have to make sure that this does not flip in anybody's favor. But unfortunately, they just can't find the frags or the blocking in time. There it is, the first round. Wow.
Yeah, just allow Peter DC at the end there to play up in church, and he can just rain down damage for absolutely free. There's no one who goes to contest him up on that high ground, so you want to fight over to the point, but you've got a player who's just getting 300 damage rockets on you, and there's basically nothing you can do about it. So I mean, wasn't an uncompetitive round, right? Like that felt pretty close at times, and they were doing a good job of getting those Ubers, but it felt like the flanks were just so effective for the side of the compound. No one ever really playing there, and once again, Pajaka, he's just in for free, but there's always Peter DC ready to fight the side of the Gremlins as they try to make their way in here. At least make it difficult, right? Like, he just gets a free pick onto Mon for basically nothing, and then now they know DQZ is there as well, and he's just going to be half health and finding it a little more difficult. But both teams playing on the point. There's the bomb in from Blue Hat, does some damage onto Sneaky, but it will be Beastie finding Mad Mac here off in the background as well. Now Sano taken down to just a small amount of HP. Doesn't look there's going to be anyone who can contest the point for much longer here. A couple players playing in through arches. Mon does come in to actually clean up Peter DC. Now Storm actually taking the 1v1 is not coming out the best of it thus far, but Pajaka comes in, cleans up that pick of Sano here, and it should be these final players having to just escape, and it is the point going the way of the compound.
Honestly, a lot better of a performance out of the Gremlins, keeping that point for a lot longer than I expected they would. Again, it's slow cap, really making sure that the timer ticks off for a while. Getting that early point control is so important. Now the Uber's coming out of the side of the compound here, and just a beautiful collapse immediately. Sneaky, nice double kill. Surely a third one to follow. Does get stolen eventually, but still, even if he dies now, which he might just about escapes narrowly. That's a nice play. They do lose Faust, but does it matter, really? I mean, Matt just about spawned. He's just now building and spawn as well. Like, they're gonna have a small disad, but Compound still have point control. They have timer advantage already as well. They're gonna get their heals back up, and positioning for the Gremlins is just not gonna be there for quite a while. They have to really move quickly here if they want to make any sort of use of this, want to get any sort of advantage out of this whatsoever. And there's already so much damage being projected here across the point against Sneaky, doing so much, just spamming stickies into that choke, making sure nobody from the Gremlins can waltz in there for free. Unfortunately for them, though, Storm and Sneaky now both taken down. Nice little bomb and aggression across is enough. There you go, Gremlins take the point back.
Feasty in behind. Feasty gets in behind, gets the drop, and gets another one for good measure as well. Feel like this man has been doing a really, really good job of managing to find those clutch picks when it really, really matters here. And it's once again just no one watching this flank. Like, they just sent DQZ in aggressive through archers instead of having him kind of watch a bit passively, send a couple spam rockets, make them think about him. That's all his job really needs to be. But they keep going in too aggressive, and then the opportunities that the Gremlins are getting, they seem to be wasting them by playing a little too aggressive and just not really playing the map how they should be. It is the Uber once again coming out from the compound. Mad Mac in an awkward situation has to try to get out through his own archers here, but they are stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's only so long until you will find those picks on the compound. A lot of players very low though, need to be a little careful as they re-aggress, but it's the scouts of the compound cleaning up these last strugglers of the Gremlins and will come out ahead on this Uber exchange once again. Faust finding his man, will be making his way to the point, gets a little opportunity to get a little edge cap time as the health not really there on the compound to instantly try to aggress, and they actually just might give it up for free. These soldiers finally bombing in, having to block the point here on the side of the compound. And I just feel like you should have someone who's able to deal with these soldiers and at least get a kill from it, but they're not able to, and actually it's Sano once again, that first pawn to fall during this Persian. Without a demo man on this map, it just feels so hard to get into things. It feels like you need that damage to really have anyone aggress on.
Yeah, also, like, just the ability to shut down, like, even if they had gotten the point there, right, how were they gonna hold down Choke? They needed both of the soldiers spamming there, and that just opens up the flanks so much, so it would have been such a tough one to hold. Now the compound just truly ruling this point with an iron fist. Eventually it flips. But look at the timer difference. The Gremlins are gonna have to hold on this for so long, so aggressively, somehow shut down everything. Getting sneaky there might just help a little bit. It is a situation we just talked about. Pushing without a demo is tough, but they've still lost 2 players for it, and now Peter manages to slip in and get Sano anyway. So much for that, right? Ubers is still equal. Faust certainly keen maybe on taking his scouts in here, but even if he doesn't, just the aggression they're projecting and the Uber exchange that is inevitably going to follow as both medics go low, but Mad Mac just on a sliver of HP before right-clicking means that this is going to be purely decided by the positioning in the post-Uber. And Peter being traded out for Utka means 1 scout less for 1 soldier. Well, Peter, trade out early, mind you. He's actually back up now. Point flipping as well in the favor of the compound, and this is do or die time now for the Gremlins. With Demo still down, this push is going to be ever so much harder, and unless they can find some early frags, find some kind of target that isn't just a soldier bombing themselves in on an open flank, it looks like it might be a second round for the compound. This Blue Hell Bomb is going to have to move mountains, as does the DQZ flank on the side, and Sano goes down again. There's Mad Mac as well. No healing for the remaining players here. Even if they get the point, there's no staying power for the Gremlins whatsoever. DQZ just desperately trying to salvage something, but it will not happen, and it is probably another round. The captain takes a while to decay, but there you go. Compound up 2-0.
Jacka literally jumped over DQZ's head, got on the flank, and managed to get Mad Mac just in a 3-2 shot. It's just cinema what Pajaka and Feasty are managing to do on the flank here against this team of the Gremlins. You would think this team with so much experience, has been around the block for a while, should just be kind of taking this one for free, should be winning out these DM fights, but they're constantly getting outflanked, they're constantly losing their demo man early, and they just don't seem to have a response for the game plan of the compound here, who are looking very, very strong, going up 2-0 straight away in this map. We'll have to see, can they make it a 3-0? They've looked pretty strong thus far, but don't be surprised if this Gremlins team has something to say about it, but they don't have much at the start. It is going to be Sano, first one to go down, just not really able to get into this fight in any door are the Gremlins.
Yeah, they're just not getting any grounds at all. Sano denied early as well. Sneaky just getting a slightly faster rollout, managing to deny him, reading him exactly where he would come from. So just compromised from the get-go. Not much they could do. Now it's going to be on how they refight this. Ubers are going to be in play. And if they can get a nice early pick on the flank or clean something up, maybe there's a chance for the Gremlins. But they haven't been on top of these flanks just yet. They are still figuring out how exactly the strategy should be here. Maybe they'll adjust. Maybe they'll find the adaptation they need. But they really do need to find it. And time's ticking away. 40 seconds almost off the clock already, and now the Uber's going to come across the point. They're going to get a slightly better one out of Faust, but they're not flashing much, so you probably fade around the same time. Utka eventually cleans up Sneaky as well, who's just left out of it, and now it's going to be on this post-Uber fight. Immediately they clean up Utka. They clean up Sano as well. Storm just across the point here. Mad Mac. There goes Plua. It's only DQZ and Mon left, neither of which really in a position to do much. I mean, Mon fighting on the point as best he can, mind you, but it's just not a nice position to be in, and all of that, by the way, they never got the cap because the point takes so long, it needs so much focus. It's still only halfway there, and there's a minute off the clock already for the compound, so things are looking quite pretty for them already.
But Jack has been playing this so cautiously and so militantly this whole time. Just been playing on this flank so far back that no one can really touch him, but he can always see them. He can always pistol them down and just gets a free pick at the start there, and then can respond to those players coming in deep onto his ramp there. I think an MVP thus far of this game. Point has gone the way of the Russians for now, but it looks like the fight going all the way of the compound is instantly able to get Uka. Somehow Sneaky going to be picked out there, but Uber comes in deep here from the side of the compound, and they are just going for all the kills they possibly can. It is just Pluha on to Faust, but he will live no problem whatsoever here. Now, I was going to say they're a little down on time, but they just took a long time to cap up that point. A minute and a half remaining on the clock only here for the combat. Need to be careful. Overextension for Feasty, kind of the first sign of a little bit of greed that we haven't seen, at least for this round, from the side of the compound. Do have to try to escape back now onto their ramp. Uber does come out once again onto Sneaky, gets that first sticky, gets the pick, and follow up by Storm, and they just know exactly what to do. I mean, I can tell Sneaky's played this map in Highlander before, because they are just doing the classic Highlander demo scout Uber, and it's working every time, and they just have no response here on the Russians.
It's so sad. I feel so bad for Mad Mac. I don't think he's had the opportunity to build an Uber for the past, like, 4 lives. He just keeps arriving at the front lines, more or less. He's still in the yard area when he dies, but, you know, he's hovers around the choke area, and every single time the compound just perfectly timed their little sack wave, their little aggression across, and catch him out. Now, crucially though, they actually have found themselves an opportunity to get a little bit of an advantage here for the Gremlins. Not only do they have the point, ticked off about 30 seconds for it before it's immediately being recapped by the compound. They have given up some ground for it, but they have gotten the frags. They've decided we'll just bait. We'll use our ground to our advantage here. And now they only have to worry about a single Feasty, whom they clean up nicely behind as well. And for once, they are actually in control for a little bit. Will they be able to retain it? That's a different question. But with a big Uber ad, it's certainly looking like they have a nice opportunity to. And if they can somehow shut down these forwarding players as well, DQZ very aggressively shutting down Sneaky, will live as well, gets out of there just in the nick of time. It does open things up on this flank already, and the compound are aggressive. These are some bloodhounds, man. Once they smell something, once they see an opening, they will try and manage to utilize it.
Yeah, looks like they're going for the sack. It is Sneaky going in high, trying to find something. Not able to at the very start, but here come the follow-up players. Only able to take down Sano for now. Mad Max sitting pretty at full HP here, so no worries from him. So I guess that is a sack attempt coming out as Uber's about to even out. And you kind of can't do this if you're the compound. You are still up 30 seconds on the clock. Uber's come up now. You have these scouts in position to try to force this Uber out, force him to use, and that's exactly what happens. Mad Max taking down very low, gets a nice use out of Faust as well during all of this. Need to be careful in this post though. 2 soldiers playing in from archers. Could be looking up for bombs in here, but it's just DQZ going behind. Pluha doesn't manage to find Faust, and actually gonna lose DQZ here. Need to be a bit careful. They don't lose anymore. Luckily we'll be able to get that pick up to Sneaky. Now the aggression coming out from the Russian team. What is the response from the compound? The response is to kill everyone and have 20 seconds remaining on your clock, and now to force all the pressure onto the Gremlins to make a move.
Nice opportunities here by the Gremlins. They certainly ticked off the time quite a bit. They've caught up, but they need to find another response here back onto this point again. Not only are they down on time, they're also down on the Uber right now. If it comes to it and both of these medics live for long enough, House is going to get first. Crucially, they're finding a lot of frags, though. They are killing a lot. Matter of fact, they killed the entire team. Nice collapse there. Big damage out of Sano. Big cleanup out of the scouts and the soldiers. It is enough to get them back on that point. And they're even waiting out their own respawners or whatever to really try to get everything done. And there you are. They do manage to just about retake the point with overtime now on for the compound. And about 30 seconds left on the clock for the Gremlins. This is, well, suddenly do or die time for the compound. They still have an opportunity to get themselves back to that point and retake it. But might be a bit of a slugfest. Might be a bit slow. Neither medic really having an Uber yet. And players dying outside of the compound means maybe these Russians have finally figured out a bit of a secret here. One of them is letting Sano not die, making sure that he lives a little bit longer, and suddenly things are looking a little bit better. Pichaka manages to clear up an Utka, but that's it on the flank, and well, with Faust crucially dying again as well, this seems like it could be a round for the Gremlins. One last attempt here, a Hail Mary push. Maybe out of the compound, seeing if they can do anything. Storm not finding anything, neither does Peter. Feasty with a nice little bomb, it can't really get the air shot though. And Gremlins, a changed team, suddenly finding the focus they need to really, really lock down this point. And suddenly, this is looking like a very different team.
Yeah, not allowing them to go flawless are the Gremlins. I feel like they just got a lot more opportunities on the flank there as well. Like, you weren't seeing Pajaka allowed to go, from the back, and there was more aggression into archers, and overall they were just trying to play it a little more aggressively and maybe support Stano a little more. I felt like his positioning and kind of over the point to not allow them in for free was really good, but a lot of his players having to play further back here, and yeah, they do win out that round. It was a close one, but yeah, maybe have the number of the compound, maybe see their strats a little more clearly now, as it does look like we are going to be having just a stare off over the pointers. It's BTDC bombing forward, allowing his team to start capping up this point. Sano pushed back very, very far here, but DQZ playing up on this high ground makes it a little more difficult here. But these teams not really wanting to go super aggressive, no one wanting to commit particularly hard on this one. There's pressure coming out here from the side of the Gremlins on the flank as well. Makes them have to look behind a little bit on the compound. Allows them to get a lot of cap time on the Gremlins. Forces a response, and the response is to hit a direct onto Ukha and take him down. Here's a bomb in from Pluha though. Can he find something? He can find the force here, and it is going to be Mad Mac finding himself basically in spawn here. Need to be careful not to overextend. It's Peter DC finding his way back to the respawn queue here. And during all this time, the point actually, has been towards a compound. So it's not too bad that they lose a player to gain a little more time on point. But I think losing to Jacka might be a little too much. Sneaky goes in again, trying to find those miracle pipes, but not able to find it this time. As point flips towards the Gremlins, and full Uber advantage for the Gremlin as well here, as they're probably going to have to send in at least another sack, but you maybe not, as already 60-70 now % Uber for the side of the compound. Might decide just to kind of brute force it.
Yeah, I feel like the Gremlins have really done a much better job now this round and also the past one, soaking up this aggression out of the compound, right? Finding where people are going to be coming from, considering the plays are kind of choreographed. It's almost the same flank every time, the same bomb through choke and all that stuff, so they're doing a better job at it. Sano's staying alive longer as well, and it's making a difference in these fights. Sure, Utka gets caught again, but what's a scout in what could be an Uber exchange coming up? There it is. It's going to be forced out on both sides, slightly later for Faust. Slightly less aggression here coming out of the Gremlin side as well. They're kind of just waiting, biding their time, and meanwhile Feasty and DKZ trade on the flank, and Faust again having to surf out, eating a lot of damage. But in fact, gets cleaned up by a Plua, who just manages to slip in. And suddenly, look at these Gremlins players. They are finding the frags. Sure, they lose Mad Mac, but this is flipped. This is completely flipped from what we saw in the first 2 rounds. Suddenly, the compound are struggling to find much of these plays. They at the very least get Mad Mac. And now Peter, nice little bomb here across, gets up to Sano, so it's gonna be a saving grace. It's gonna get them something, but they're still not in control of the point. You know, they got a bit of time ticked off, but now the Gremlins are back in control, and they're gonna have a very slight ad as well to boot, so it's still a fight. It's still a fight for anybody's game here. But look at cleaned up, and oh, you would have loved to see that. It's still a cleanup anyway onto Mad Mac. Peter is finding moving mountains here, somehow.
Yeah, they're just playing so aggressive with these soldiers again, and I think it's what worked for them originally, and they've seen their players on the flank just not really working quite as well, trying to play towards archers. But kind of sending Peter in on those off timings worked quite well last fight. Was the only player to really get engaged and get something going, and then, yeah, finds Mad Mac in the end of things there as well. So the compound, now a minute 30 on the clock here, going to have that uber advantage, so should be seeing the Gremlins kind of going for a sack play, or maybe just wanting to force a little bit of pressure onto that point, force these players to play a lot more aggressive than they want to. And it's sneaky playing aggressive. It's in onto Mad Mac again, takes him out with a final sticky deep in there. Just Mon trying to come in along with DQZ, trying to follow up on any players. And it is actually going to be Pluha from the flank, managing to find his way on to Faust here. I feel like they've gotten worse on just staying a little more regimented in these post fights and making sure they have someone watching those flanks so things like that don't happen, because they always have that play where they're just going to go for the medic, right? But you need to also be able to get out from that deep area, and the only way you can really do that is to watch your flanks and make sure that no one is going to be coming in from behind, because, you know, as nice as it was to get that pick, it's just instantly turned the point to the Russians once again. Like, they just come up, they have their medic earlier, they can just bully you out. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, and then you take down Bajaka instantly. This really just allows them to get back into this round. They need to try to go for something. They do manage to find Sano once again, that first pick to fall, but is it really going to matter? Only 10 seconds on his respawn time, and you're going to be waiting a while yourself to get these players back up in position to try to take it over the point, and Ubers should even out before we see a real fight here, but it is going to be Mad Mac getting it first.
Yeah, and that just delays the compound ever so slightly longer, right? They can't really aggress when they don't have the Uber in tow just yet. They have to worry about it coming out of Mad Mac first, and Faust doesn't have yet. So there's a bit of a chase here on to try and maybe get that medic. They won't be able to find him, but they do find a lot of players who still just, you know, slowed us down a bit. 3 players down, even if you lose 2 yourself, makes it a little bit easier for the Gremlins to keep them at bay for a little while longer. And making the most of what is, well, not the best force, basically, or the best use out of an Uber. They really would have wanted to get the medic, but still, they're under control the point, they're in control of the timer. The straightest air shot I've ever seen out of Feasty. Wonderful pencil juggle. Nice little rocket there onto Sano. Okay, makes up for it with a nice other one, but crucially, that aggression out of the Gremlins gets the force out of the compound. So even though point might just flip again in favor of the compound, and this is gonna be a close round once more in terms of the timers. Advantage now once more, side of the Gremlins. They have to find themselves onto that midpoint, and suddenly things are gonna be looking mighty fine for them once more. If they can find themselves a way in here, obviously. They really gotta find some sort of flank, some sort of opening frag, your opening pick, a good bit of aggression, maybe somebody who's overextended a little bit. They're playing it safe for now, seeing if they can, you know, get in there. Peter going down first might be the opening they need, but he was basically going for a sack for the medic, and there's DQZ traded out on the flank instead. Well, Pluha is just pressured back as well, and eventually this is just going to be an Uber used out of the side of the Russians, but it is so close for the other side to get their own, and Faust narrowly getting it before dying himself. Will be compromised in the post positioning, and the point has flipped. It is close seconds for both of these teams on the clock. Anybody who's in control in the next 10 seconds will probably win the round, but Compound aren't giving up just yet. At least they send in players as best they can. It looks like it's going to match point both ways.
Yeah, bring it up to 2-2. Again, both teams are making it really close, but it just looks like they're able to thwart the aggression just a little bit better from the side of the compound, not working quite as well, and then losing the flank a lot more. I think the Russians have a bit more of an idea of how to play the map during this second half, and they're looking a lot stronger here, and just kind of getting away with a bit more of these aggressive plays than they were previously allowed to here. Was instantly just sending a couple players in on the flank, and Sano is just dishing out so much good damage over that point here. No one really able to get things started. It's Peter DC coming into Sano. It's those aggressive bombs from the combat that worked so well in the past coming out. Need to be careful of DQC in the background, but I don't think he should be too much of a threat. Doesn't bomb in particularly deep. So now just want to wait for Sano, but they don't want to wait for the compound. Peter bombing straight in, finding himself finding the medic crucially, and they find basically a wipe on the whole team. Just Sano left alive, 80 HP. The compound, though, wants to set up a little forward fold, playing in this yard area. We are yet to see it during this game, this aggressive of a hold. I don't know how well it works because you have 3 doors you can go through. You are not stuck just going through this right-hand side door. You can go main, you can go top left. And that's exactly what they do. They find Pajaka early. Feasty wants to find a trade, will manage to find Pluha with that finishing damage here. But it's a bit risky. It's Peter just hitting direct out of the world here, trying to get their way onto Faust. Do manage to get the force. It's not the end of the world for the compound. They do manage to at least get that late spawner for DQZ here, but it doesn't really mean too much. As yeah, they're setting up for this forward hold once again. Want to try to make it work, want to try to make it happen, but Mon has just been allowed in for free here. It's going to be making things difficult. But these soldiers, I mean, you were saying 20XX is a joke, but they kind of do just be hitting every rocket.
They do just be hitting everything. Peter doing a lot right now for the compound here, pulling away with a lot of stuff. Eventually will pay for his sins, will get killed trying to escape. They realize, like, wait a second, we need to just kill this guy and then we can actually play the game again. Look at that, Gremlins now finally taking control of the point, but half the clock has ticked off for the compound and they get forced, trying to just solidify themselves in their position here a little bit. As Sneaky and Feasty, well, mainly Feasty, get away with getting that force out of them. Sano as well, very aggressive, very overextended, just kind of holding W into an enemy scout. I mean, probably expecting more follow-up, but hey, that is just how it goes sometimes. It's Pajaka trying to maybe follow up the aggression as well, having to concede for now, but crucially for the compound, even if they're not in control right now. They got that Uber ad. It is a massive, massive Uber ad to work with, and they're just going to get that point off the back of it for free, and probably quite the aggressive hold themselves again if they so desire. Gremlins not quite giving this one up just yet. They're certainly fighting for it. They certainly want to see if they can maybe force something out here, and maybe it's ill-advised, right? Maybe they need to be aware that Uber that could be coming their way. So yeah, they've backed off now, being a bit more careful about the approach they take here. Probably just waiting for Mad Mac to get his own Uber up once more, and then potentially themselves another chance to get it back onto this point. But this has been a very commanding round so far from the compound, and all they have to do is just not lose. They are squarely in control of the game right now.
Yeah, I think a good idea not to go for that aggressive Uber on Sneaky, because they responded exactly how they should have on the side of the Gremlins, playing so passive to get that Uber. Uber's finally trading out over the point here. No one able to get aggressive on the compound and giving up pretty much everything, but it will be Beastie finding an air shot onto Pluha, but the rest of the kills going the way of the Gremlins during this one. It will be Faust a little safe, so should be able to get themselves another fight, but need to be careful of DQZ playing on this high ground, finding his way onto Faust. Gets 2 rockets, but Faust living on 2 HP during this. But he finally dies to Mon with that final little tickle from the scattergun, and now it's all guns blazing if you are the compound. Surely, I thought they wanted to just kind of try to get in here, but it's called off a little bit here. They don't have the Uber yet on the Gremlins. It is going to be an even Uber fight as they come in here. There's no Ubers in play, so can maybe slow it down a little bit, but you know, you have time on the clock. You kind of want to get in now, guys. You want to make a little bit of aggression happen, and they're just gonna be playing on the point, gonna be trying to force it out that way, force them to come a little bit aggressive, but they're just playing 3 players on archers here for the side of the Russians, and actually they have to back out pretty much all the way as Yard is just so big. It takes so long for them to rotate. They need to give up point.
Yeah, that's how you offset the long cap time, I suppose. Just force players to be away from it for a long time. And look at that. After all of that, after a truly amazing little pipe over the fence kill onto Faust, they've equalized the Ubers once more. Compound now an opportunity to get themselves back onto this point. Unfortunate for them, though, not only do they lose Sneaky out of their Uber exchange, they also find themselves on a very low health position with Faust, who immediately gets cleaned up as that Uber fades, and Utka just kind of going on a rampage right now. Up to 7 kill streak, make it 8. They're just like letting this guy clean up everything with his little banana gun. And yeah, you know what? Just feed him some more. Feed him more kills. Because right now, the Gremlins are suddenly commanding this entire point. They're commanding this hold. Now, crucially for the side of the compound, their medic spawns so quickly that this isn't even that big of a disat, right? They're about 20% down, which is certainly workable with the 30 seconds they have left, but they really have to find themselves onto this point sooner rather than later. Get some good frags opening. Certainly finding Pluha early as he's trying to force himself in is a good idea. And then the aggression onto Mad Mac as well, eventually to get the frag, and that's what matters, because now, even if it were to come to it, they have a nice big Uber ad to work with. And all they have to do is hold out for 16 more seconds, and then the map is theirs. So Gremlins, it's do or die time. These fellas gotta find something, get themselves to that point, get themselves at least a little bit of cap time ticking to get that overtime. But unfortunately for them, the Uber is already in play for the compound. Sando gets taken down immediately, and no one else can get close. So it is a GG and a win for the compound, but my lord, was this map closer than it was looking like after the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, first 2 rounds just like it was going to be a sweep for the compound there, but yeah, the Russians finding something. I like they started playing a little from arches, mixing it up, taking the Ubers in slightly different places and trying to catch the compound a little unaware there. But it's just so much aggression from the flank that you allow if you do that, and once again just allows the compound to go in for those aggressive soldier bombs. Peter DC just going in doing huge damage, and then it's Feasty and Pajaka just come in from the flank, and you don't really need to do much more but lock out the choke area, not allow them to get onto your medic for the other 2 players in the combo, and they'll just follow up. And yeah, I mean, compound, it looked a little scary. I was about to make a joke of you said, all they have to do is not lose, and then they nearly lost. They made it a little scary at the end there, but yeah, no, compound winning it out, getting themselves, I believe that's 6 points actually.
Yeah, for anybody, I don't know if this is a statistic that matters in the fantasy, but Feasty hit 4 air shots, which is by far the most of the entire server on that map. But in general, the logs are on screen as well. A lot of players were frickin' farming. Like, Utka 35 kills, Feasty 30 kills, Mon 30 kills, Pajaka 30 kills. This is, as I'm saying, this is just a DM fest. Everybody was just fragging. There was so little strategy beyond, let's just bomb, choke, and kill their medic, which worked way too frequently, by the way. But everybody was just farming stats. Look at the damage on Pajaka. He top damage on the scout, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it is cough, but it's not product, right? It is something else. Well, he top damage on the scout after you exclude sneaky. I did, omit that little part. But still, like, what a just the DM fest. Everybody fighting for their lives and making it a close one. Like, there was strategy at first, and then once the Russians kind of figured out, wait a minute, they're just doing the same stuff every single time, and we're dying to it. Let's stop dying to it and do the same thing to them. It got interesting, and here we are.
Yeah, it definitely did get interesting. I still think they didn't really play enough of sending that combo through arches. I think there's a lot more you can do to try to make things a little difficult for them, and just didn't really respond until the very end there on the Russians. I think could have punished the compound a little more. They had that very set strategy. Yeah, I feel like it just took a little too long because yeah, they looked really good in the rounds that they did win on the side of the Gremlins, even though it was close. But yeah, overall compound managing to just sneak this one out, had a much stronger start to that round. I think there was like a minute and a half on the timer, basically, for free at the start there. And yeah, take it home and ruin everyone's fantasies.
Also, the Uber difference between the medics here is kind of like it is crazy how close it was, because usually when you see a difference between medics like this, you think like, well, one team got completely rolled, right? 20 Ubers to 12 from MadMac is kind of absurd. That's kind of a crazy difference. But then you need to remember that MadMac spent like a solid 2 rounds just constantly dying before he even got to the point. So maybe this does actually reflect. And if anything, this is a good testament to the Gremlins managing to pull it through, even with, a clear disadvantage like this, not being able to, use their medic a lot of the time and still hanging in there for just a little bit longer and actually making it as close as it was for Govan. But in the end, this is 2 maps, 1 for the compound. Some points they're going to be very happy to be taking home because realistically, given the caliber of the rest of the season of the teams they're going to be facing, not that many easy matches necessarily left. Maybe a 1 or 2, but this is probably one of the few matches where they actually had a good chance of getting the points. So good for them. I don't know what this will mean for the playoffs implications, because at the end of the day, nobody knows what's happening in the season. Nobody knows what's going on. We don't really exactly know the playoffs format yet. I mean, we kind of do, but not really. There's something going on with like split brackets, and I don't know. I'm not like the smart guy. I'm sure the admins are gonna have a lot of fun figuring that out. Anyway, that's it from us for now. More games on Sunday. You can see them right there. That's what we're going to be looking at when that happens. If none of those teams implode by then, we never know, right? I don't want to wish ill upon anybody. And I'm going to stop rambling now, unless Steven wants to say anything else, because I like putting him on the spot.
That's all from me. Yeah, just shout out. There should be some really good games, actually, these two games. I think,
Yeah.
the odds against Expose Me, especially, is going to be a real
Yep.
banger. And then lovely things from Alpha Glock thus far. Can't wait to see more for them throughout the season. So, yeah, do tune into those on Sunday. That's all from us. Good night.